Mark Gibson's Human Rights Channel. Accountant with designations CPA, MBA, CMA, ACPA, ASA, Australia. Enjoy learning!
Today we'll discuss about costs and cost concepts, but this time we'll focus on the segregation of fixed and variable costs, variable elements of a mixed cost. So this is important. No? That's why I prepared a separate discussion because this will be part of your midterm examination. Okay, so as you know, so first let's do a quick recap muna or review of the behavior of your fixed and variable cost. No? So sabi natin, fixed cost in total is constant and variable cost per unit is constant. Okay, now we have different types of or different methods to segregate fixed and variable elements of mixed cost. Basically, mixed cost is a cost wherein there are elements which are fixed and variable. So number one, this is the most common method. We have the so-called high-low points method. The fixed and variable elements of the mixed costs are computed from two data points or periods, the high and the low periods as to activity level or cost driver. Later on, we'll apply this in a problem, but let's discuss first the other two methods to segregate your fixed and variable elements of mixed costs. So number two, we have the statistical Scattergraph method. So various costs. So sabi naman natin, I think this is obvious, no? Cost is this the dependent variable. Dependent to what? Dependent to the cost driver. So costs can, costs will go up depending on the cost driver. So long as the cost driver increases, total cost also increases. So going back to statistical scattergraph, no? So sabi natin, these are various costs which are plotted on a vertical line, or this is your y-axis. This is your total cost. And the measurement figures or cost drivers or activity levels are plotted on horizontal line or your x-axis. So basically, these points here, these are your activity level. So paano ba yan? If we're talking about sabihin natin direct labor hours, so we just have to plot it in here, no? And then later on, we need to have a straight line. Straight line is drawn through the points, and using this line, the rate of variability and the fixed costs are computed. So basically, class, we're dealing with the correlation or yung sinatawag nating coefficient of correlation or yung R. So basically, this is a measure of the extent of the linear relationship between two variables. So sabi natin, R is equals to +1 or -1. So ang R, if the slope of the line falls between +1 or -1, meron tayong tinatawag na perfect correlation. Now, class, I've provided here how to calculate for the R, but basically this R, this is always provided in the problem. So sabi natin, anything beyond or below plus or -1, meron tayong tinatawag na no correlation or kasi di ba pag +1, between +1 or -1, there is a strong correlation. So meaning the data presented to us can be well adapted to convert into a more reliable data to aid us in our decision making. Okay? So siguro as an example na lang, for example, we are given ito. Ibigay lang ako ng example. So sabi natin, meron tayong coefficient of R. So A, B, C, and D. Sabihin natin ang R here is 1.20. This is minus 0.98. This is 0.90. 0.4. So given these options, no, and this is your coefficient correlation or your R, which of the following give us the strongest correlation? So A, B, C, or D. So sabi, the answer is letter B. Kasi sabi natin, it should be the one closest to either +1 or -1. So again, if the correlation or our R is between +1 and -1, we have a strongest correlation. Therefore, data presented to us can be used to do our analysis. Okay? Sige, let's continue. And the third segregation or method of segregation is the so-called method of least squares or regression analysis. It is mathematically determines a line of best fit or a linear regression line through a set of plotted points so that the sum of the squared deviations of each actual plotted point from the point directly above or below it on the regression line is at minimum. This method uses the following equations in computing for the values of unit variable costs and fixed costs. So we have equation 1, or your summation of y, summation of your total cost is equals to NA plus B summation of X. Basically, the N here is the number of sample presented to you. Your B, this is your variable cost. And then your X is your total cost, no? And then equation 2 is your summation of xy is equals to a summation of x plus b summation of x squared. So later on, we'll discuss this in lengthy applying in a problem. No? So, okay. So next, we'll talk about the cost formula. So basically, the cost formula is y is equals to a plus bx. So y, this is your total cost. Sabi natin kanina, this is the dependent variable because it is dependent on the value of another variable. In this case, your x. X here is the activity level. A here, this is your fixed cost plus B. Kanina, di ba sabi ko rin B, this is your variable cost. No? So variable cost per unit of X. X is the activity driver. Okay? So class, let's go to exercise number 1. But this time, let's do high and low points method. No? So, okay. So given this data, kunin lang muna natin yung mga high, low, and points. No? Sabi natin, in high-low method, we need to ensure that outliers are not included in our analysis. So in this case, class, the outlier would be the data presented for July. Well, for the obvious reason that the total cost varies between 24,000 and 44,000. But then in July, we only gathered 7,650 7,650 pesos of cost. So therefore, July is an outlier. So it could be that in July, we have forced leave, we have stop operation. So therefore, total cost is just 7,650. Now, the reason why we're not including outlier in our analysis, that outlier can impact the total sample, no? So therefore, we should exclude that. Okay, so now let's go to the high-low method. So in high-low method, first we need to determine the highest activity level. So in this case, 3,900. And then the related cost, no? So that's 44,160. Next is the lowest naman. So Feb, that's 2,000 and then 24,400. So to compute for your variable cost per unit, it's simply your difference in cost of 19,760 divided by the difference in cost driver of 1,900. So therefore, you have your total variable cost per unit of 10.4 pesos. Sige. Now, i-prove lang natin na tama yung calculation natin. So remember, our cost function or cost formula is total cost is equals to fixed cost plus variable cost. No? Sige. Siyempre, meron ka ng variable cost, di ba? 10.40. Meron ka activity level. Computin lang natin yung first two siguro, 3,500. Ito is in hours. Tsaka 2,000. So this is your total variable cost. 10.4 multiplied by 3,500. Now, meron kasing total cost. How much is your total cost? 40,000. And your in Feb, it's 24,400. So therefore, your fixed cost is 3,600. Okay. So that's, well, the answer to question 1 or requirement letter A. So total cost is equals to 3,600 plus 10.4x. Okay. Letter B, using the cost function developed in A, what is the estimated total cost at an operating level of 2,850? So basically, class, pinapakompute lang naman sa atin is kung magkano daw kung 2,850 ito. This is your total cost. Total cost. So, meron kang 2,850, yun yung pinapakompute sa atin. Siyempre, may variable cost ka na 10.4. So, multiply mo yung dalawa to get your total variable cost. And your fixed cost, add it to your variable cost to get your total cost. No? So, that's 33,240. Okay? So, that's exercise 1. In fact, the calculation is also available in the PowerPoint just to and for the benefit of our discussion to just have my separate calculation in Excel. No? Also, exercise 1 we can develop it or we can also use Scattergraph method. So again, your vertical line, this represents your total cost. And your horizontal line here, this is your cost driver. And basically, when we put in these different cost drivers here and draw a line, all we need to do is get the difference, no, of your slope A, X, and slope Y. And in return, it will simply just give us the difference in cost over the difference in cost driver, which is exactly the same that we did in using the high-low method. So basically, class, high-low and Scattergraph method, these methods only use 2 points, no, to come up with your total, your cost function or cost formula. So in using the Scattergraph method, we also use 2 points, and then we can now derive the cost formula, which is also the same calculation with the high-low method. So it's y is equals to a plus bx. Okay. Okay, yan din yung sinasabi natin kanina, no? So meron kang outlier, the data in July. Okay, so similarly, yan yung pinag-usapan natin. So meron ka cost formula, your total cost, and then this one. We're now going to derive 2,850 hours, okay? So we go now to exercise number 2. So exercise number 2, compute the cost formula for moving materials using high-low method. Calculate the predicted cost per month with 55 moves using the high-low formula. And letter B, compute the cost formula for moving materials using method of least squares. Itong letter B and C, di-discuss natin siya in detail. Pero for siguro purpose lang ng review, no? Kasi na-discuss ko na yung high-low method. Try nyo munang i-compute yung requirement letter A. Okay? High-low method lang yan. So sabi natin, Athena, controller for the Malabon plant of Zaluki Incorporated, wanted to determine the cost behavior of moving materials throughout the plant. She accumulated the following data on number of moves. So from 100 to 800 in increments of 100. And the total cost of moving materials at those levels of moves. So you have your number of moves. Ito class, dapat to 100. Nakita mo naman, di ba? Sabi doon, moves in increments of 100. So 100, 200, 300, so on and so forth, up to 800. So you have your total cost, 300 up to 1,420. Now let's solve for the high-low method. Sige, compare nyo yan dito sa solution natin. No? Exercise number 2. Okay. So, in exercise number 2, sabi natin, compute lang muna natin high-low method. Wala pang masyado pag-iisipan. So, the highest is 1,420 at 80 or 800 driver. Okay. And the lowest is 300 at 100 number of moves. So get the difference. So meron kang 1,120 and difference in cost driver of 700. Okay, divide the 2. So meron kang 1.60. Now, we can now derive our cost formula. So that's total cost is equals to 140. Paano natin nakuha yung 140? Try lang natin isa pa. Meron kang highest cost, di ba? 1,420. 800 multiplied by 1.6, so that's 1,280. This is your variable cost. Meron kang total cost. Get the difference para makuha mo yung fixed cost. So here, you have your total fixed cost of 140 pesos. Therefore, our cost formula is total cost is equals to 140, which is your fixed cost, plus 16x or 1.6x. Okay, so that's 140 okay. Okay, so therefore, 140 plus 1.6x, so sabi natin doon, ilan ba? 55. So meron ka 55 moves multiplied by 1.60 plus the fixed cost of 140. So your total cost is 228. So that's requirement letter A. Okay? Pag-usapan natin ngayon yung requirement letter B. Sa requirement letter B class, this is the method of least square. Oops. So sa method of least square, what I'm going to present to you are the procedure on how to go about your least square method. No? So in least square method, sabi natin this is mathematical approach. No? So in fact, we'll be dealing with these two formula to come up or to compute for our variable cost and as well as our fixed cost. Okay? So sabi ng formula is summation of y. Again, y is our total cost and a plus b summation of x. And secondly, it's summation of xy, x being your activity level, y is your total cost, is equals to a summation of x. Again, x is your cost driver, plus b summation of x squared. No? So, syempre, ang step natin is number 1, kunin mo muna natin yung x and y. So, x, again, this is your cost driver. So, in this case, your number of moves. Sagit nga, baka hindi tayo naka-record sa inyo. Ano ba makikita? Share. Okay, so naka-record naman. Okay, so going back, so una natin gagawin, kunin muna natin yung x, no? And then y, again, this is your total cost. Given naman to class, so wala tayong problema dyan. xy is simply multiply your x plus y, so that's your xy. And then x squared, multiply x by itself. So 10 multiplied by 10, or your x squared, no? So that's 100. So 20 multiplied by 20, that's 400. 20 multiplied by 465, that's 9,300. So tapusin nyo lang yon and then get the sum of x, y, and x squared. So ito na ngayon yan. So from there, pwede na natin ma-derive yung formula. So una, di ba, formula natin, summation of y is equals to NA plus B summation of x. So i-derive lang natin yung formula. Nasaan ba yung summation of y? Ayun, 6,995. Again, yung n, this represents the number of data or sample. So in this case, 8A. Huh? So yun yung A. Plus, sabi natin, summation of x. So total of x is 360. 360B. Okay, so meron ka ng, na-derive na natin yung equation for number 1. Punta tayo dun sa number 2 equation. So number 2 equation is summation of xy. Ayun, 3,900. 390,900. Plus summation of x. Summation of x is 360a. Yung a naman is yung variable na unknown. No? Plus summation of x squared. X squared is 20,400b. So kung nakapansin nyo class, wala pa tayong ginagawa. No? Tinuturo ko dito is yung step-by-step approach to calculate the least square, no? Least square method. Okay? So meron na tayong equation 1 and 2. Ngayon, syempre, hindi naman natin pwedeng i-compute yung, alam nyo to, di ba? Sa algebra nyo, hindi nyo pwedeng compute yung equation kung merong dalawang unknown. So therefore, kailangan kunin muna natin yung isa, no? And then paano natin gagawin yon? So ito yung equation. Remember, this is your equation number 1. Highlight ko lang. Oops, ibang kulay naman. Paano natin yan? Di ba ang aim natin is maging 0 muna yung si A. No? So paano natin yan, paano natin ma-drop si A? Basically, no? So all we need to do is multiply the whole equation by 360 over 8. Saan ko nakuha yung 360? Ayun. Tapos yung 8 will be the value here. So 360 over 8 or simply 45. So 45 multiplied by 6,995, that's 314,775. 45 multiplied by 8, so that's 360A. O, diba? Yun nga yung gusto natin, may drop si A para at least si B muna yung kailangan natin. Yung si B muna yung makuha natin. No? This is not accounting, this is algebra. So kung hindi nyo pa alam yung relationship ng variables in your algebra class, so you have to revisit that, no? Like I said, this is just the procedure on how to go about the least square method. Okay. So again, 45 multiplied by 360, so that's 16,200b. So deduct the 2, so 390, 900 minus 314,775, meron kang 76,125. 360a minus 360a, that's 0. 20,400 less 16,200b, that's 4,200b. So transpose na natin to get the value of b, so that's 18.125. Basically 76,125 divided by 4,200. So that's the value of b. Ngayon kung meron ka ng b, pwede mo na ma-compute si a. Paano yon? Let's use equation number 1. So in equation number 1, you have your total cost of 6,995 is equals to 8A plus 360B. Okay? Eh, di ba si B, alam na natin yung value, that's 18.125. So therefore, 360 multiplied by 18.125, so that's 6,525. So therefore, meron ka na ngayong, pwede mo na ma-derive si A. Actually, A is equivalent to 58.75 or simply 470 divided by 8. Okay? So meron ka, na-solve mo na si B and na-solve mo na rin si A. So therefore, we can now derive the cost formula. So the cost formula is total cost is equals to 58.75. So this is your fixed cost plus 18.125 variable cost multiplied by the cost driver. So to answer question B or requirement B, compute the cost formula for moving materials using method of least squares using the regression cost formula. What is the predicted cost for a month with 55 moves? So the answer is 1,055.625. So that's 58.75 plus 18.125 multiplied by 55 moves. So that's 1,055,625. Okay. Now, in letter C, the requirement is prepare a flexible budget with separate variable and fixed categories for the cost of moving materials at 25, 45, and 75 moves. So meron kang moves dyan, 45, 25, 45, and 75. Ang pinapakompute lang naman sa atin is yung variable cost and fixed cost. Siyempre, meron na tayong cost function or cost formula, which is total cost is equals to fixed cost or 58.75. So, fix na natin dito yung fixed cost. Hindi natin pag-usapan yan. Plus 18.125 multiplied by the cost driver. So, 18.125 multiplied by 25. So, that's 453.13. 18.125 multiplied by 45, that's 815.63. And finally, 75 multiplied by 18.125, so that's 1,359. Get the sum. So total cost is 511.88 for 25 moves. 874.38 for 45 moves. And finally, 1,418.13 for 75 moves. So again, those solutions are already provided in the PowerPoint slides. But again, I will also provide you the copy of the Excel file, no, for, I mean, if you want to review. Okay. So yeah, I think that's it. So that ends our discussion for today.
This has been your instructor, Mark Gibson. Thank you for learning with us. See you in our next discussion. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See ya!